Coming up on today's show, Brian and I talk about the Log4J vulnerability that was going around last week and a little more cybersecurity stuff and how that affects businesses and our predictions for 2022. So stick around. Coming next. How was your weekend?
Weekend was very good. We kicked it off with a birthday party for my son, 3 years old. I think the young man having the birthday was 5, so we aged up a little bit there. But yeah, that was Saturday morning, and that was good. That was probably more exciting for us as parents because that's the first real sort of interaction he's had like that. I mean, he goes to daycare 5 days a week, but we don't really get a chance to see him in action with his friends. We're barely allowed in the building, so it was fun for us to be there, and we both stayed the whole time just to watch. It was like a little play gym type of thing, so they did obstacle course, slides, and had the cake and all that sort of stuff. How about your weekend?
Yeah, that's pretty much similar. So we were big into trampoline parks before COVID hit. So we took the girls to their first trampoline park since I think December 2019, and there's a new one in the area that it's part trampoline park, part ropes course, part arcade. So we figured it wasn't any more exposure than the playground at school, and we were happy when we got there that actually it was I kind of like looking at space that we're in, and the tall ceilings, and child per square foot count was really low, so plenty of space for everybody. So yeah, that was fun. Had a little drama this weekend. I took the girls out to dinner on Friday, or tried to take the girls out to dinner on Friday, and sent the girls to wash their hands before food got to the table. And after my parental timer went off, what I guess was maybe 30 to 45 seconds, and the kids weren't back, I got up and checked on them and found them crying in the bathroom because they couldn't get out. They were locked in the bathroom. So after watching the managers run around feverishly looking for a key, steel door with a deadbolt, I was forced to kick the door in, and that was a big traumatic event. But the girls are, I think, taking it better than me and my wife, so they're fine. Everything's fine. But it was a little excitement to start the weekend. So
yeah, did you know how it happened, or is that something they can fix, or what went on
so I posted a little something on Facebook, and this morning at drop off at the school, one of my friends, one of the mothers there, were kind of friends through Facebook and the kids and stuff. And she came up to me. She's like, "Hey, I saw your post on Facebook." She's like, "We go to that restaurant frequently, and I have gotten stuck in that woman's bathroom." She's like, "It's a steel door with a house grade deadbolt on it. And deadbolts, if they're not unencumbered, so if the bolt doesn't slide in and out, the door can kind of wedge against it." And she's like, "Yeah, that door has been a problem for me." And she's like, "I can imagine what an 8-year-old and 5-year-old were doing, dealing with." So I didn't feel guilty for what, it was their fault that they had a malfunctioning door, but still it kind of was like affirming a little bit that I'm not much of an overreactive parent, but I do I can step up when I need to, but after I was leaving, I was like, geez, was it necessary to kick the door in? I mean, the two girls were crying. They weren't hysterical, but they were crying and they were scared, even though both of us were on the other side of the door saying, "Don't worry, we're getting a key. They're looking for a key." It was just uncomfortable. So
yeah, I can imagine. Well, I'm glad that it worked out, I guess, as best as it could, right? I mean, other than finding a key, I guess that's kicking it down was your best path forward. And now you can do that. So you have another daddy superpower.
Well, let me just tell you that it didn't go the way that you think it goes in your head, as you think the first kick, the door is going to blow open, and then this breeze is going to blow your cape in the wind, and and it's going to be, you know, a fantastic moment. The first kick, the door didn't budge, and I was like, oh, I might not get this open. So after about a half dozen more kicks, the door started to give, and I say, okay, I think I can get it. And I think it took me probably about a dozen kicks to finally get the jam to break, and then one more or two more boots, and the thing did kind of fling open, and the girls were sitting in the corner, and you know, we had, you know, it was fine. But yeah, the first kick didn't go the way I thought it would go. The first time I had to kick a door down.
Any soreness from you the next day?
Actually, the ball of my right foot was bruised. I can still kind of feel it, that it was light bruising, but it's all right.
Well, when your girls get older, they won't. When they get in that teenage phase and they want to lock the door and keep you guys out, they won't even bother.
Yeah, there's probably some long-term effects that I think. I mean, it's definitely going to be a family story, you know, that's going to be probably regurgitated. You know how families do.
Oh yeah,
with stories.
Embellished, and the number of kicks will
oh yeah
decrease over time. You know, eventually, you know, you'll get it down to your
blew
first
that
kick.
door open with one fell swoop, right?
Yeah.
No, and like I said, I think my wife is more traumatized than any of them, you know, than any of us. The kids, you know, they calm down, you know, after an hour or something. And actually, it's funny, the restaurant has no idea who we are. You know, we didn't, the food was just coming to the table, and after we got them out of the bathroom, we were just kind of so shooken that we just left. They were like, oh my God, we're so sorry. My wife was like not happy. I'm not sure exactly everything she said, but I was like, I'm sure it's not your fault. You're a manager. Like, you didn't install the door, whatever. Just leave it. We're just out of here. And so we just left, you know, a table full of food, and, you know, it's fine. Yeah. So I kind of wonder, you know, is there a contractor Monday morning there, like, you know, like repairing the door, and, you know, what the whole, is it like yellow taped right now or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Well,
so
hopefully they fix it to the better.
Yeah. So a little excitement to start the weekend. And then I was going to take them to, I like to take the kids to, we don't have in Hartford, Connecticut, we don't have, well, you're local too. So since the Whalers left, we don't have a professional hockey team anymore. So we have to settle for the Wolfpack. And they usually have 7:00 games, and it's a little late for the girls. But they played at 3 yesterday, and I was thinking about taking them, but I don't know. I hate to blame things on COVID, but it's just like, you know, with the whole numbers thing and everything, it seemed marginal at best. So we didn't get the hockey game in, which I'm kind of bummed out, because they don't have a lot of those it was a 3:00 game, and they don't have a lot of them.
Yeah, those Sunday 3:00 ones are nice. And they had a basketball game there Saturday. So it's always nice to see how quickly they can turn that space over.
Yeah, it is. I think they put something on the ice, right?
I think so.
Put the basketball right on that, right on top of the ice.
I know they've done some of those time lapse videos, you know, where you can kind of watch how they transform it in, you know, a matter of hours and in minutes. Those are pretty neat.
Yeah. So that's good. So, hey, look, we're doing episode 2. I'm glad you returned. We're doing this again. That's exciting, right?
Right. And you, the listener, have returned.
Yeah, right. If you're listening, congratulations. You made it to the second episode. I got to tell you, I was excited all week. I couldn't wait for Monday. I have a lot to say, and I love this process. I like connecting with you, and I was kind of like, maybe I've got a daily show in me somewhere. I don't know. No, that might be too much, but yeah, no, this is great. I'm glad we're doing this again, and hopefully we'll just keep doing it, as long as we're having a good time.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the first one came out about as well as you could imagine. I mean, we got it on a few different platforms. I don't know if I told you it was added to Google Podcast too. I know that some of those take a few days to cycle through the system. So it's on there as well. So it's filtering through all the podcast networks as they do. And of course, YouTube is the primary spot, and the Facebook group. So yeah, I mean, for show 1, I think it went as smoothly as we could have imagined.
Eric Buhrendorf with my co-host Brian Williams. This is the Finance and Technology Insights. with Brian and Eric. It's a weekly show where we just hang out. We talk tech and finance. We use a news aggregator called Flipboard. You can find the link in the show notes. Flipboard allows us to pin weekly news articles throughout the week and gives Brian and I something to talk about. While we try to stay focused on tech and finance, we reserve the right to talk about anything. We do have a Facebook channel or Facebook group that you can find and chat with us. And as Brian said earlier, we are doing our best effort to put this into a podcast format as well. And that should be available through Spotify, Google Podcast, perhaps Apple Podcast. And what's the other one everybody uses? It's not Stitcher. It's
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Is it Stitcher? Yeah.
Yeah.
So look for us on all of your favorite mediums, and feel free to like and subscribe and give us a share. And we'll keep doing this as long as Brian and I keep entertaining ourselves. And we do have two sponsors for the show, EVERNET and Northshire. I'm going to say I'll do the first sponsor, which will be Northshire today. Northshire Consulting is a local independent investment advisory firm. Northshire specializes in workplace retirement accounts such as 401ks, individual wealth management. Northshire works in a fiduciary capacity 100% of the time, meaning we put the best interest of the client first. You can find them at northshireconsulting.com and through their social media presence, 401k and beyond.
All right. Sponsor
that was
number
my first
2.
intro. How'd I do?
Yeah, that was really good. That was really good. I mean, anything you need to look down and read, we can always put an image or some B-roll over the top. So
yeah, I just chopped that up.
Yeah. Sponsor 2, EVERNET. This show is sponsored by EVERNET, America's leading IT services and support provider, with clients from Seattle, Washington to Tampa, Florida, New York, and Dallas. EVERNET protects and manages the IT needs of companies everywhere. Find them at evernetco.com. Excellent.
So what are we talking about today?
I don't know. You flipped some stuff up there, and so did I. I mean, you touched on it a little bit last week, and maybe we could go a little bit more into it now. But the Log4J patch and virus. So that's in your wheelhouse.
That was developing that. So a lot of hacks. It's coming to find out that a lot of hacks are released on Friday afternoon. And I guess the hackers think that response times are going to be slower and lessen because IT administrators trying to enjoy their weekend. So we were recording Monday last week. The hack was kind of unfolding. I think it was that Friday before. So I didn't want to speak too much without details and knowing what was going on. But yeah, so there is a huge vulnerability kind of attacking systems throughout the world, and it's oddly both highly publicized and underwhelming at the same time. It's such a bizarre incident, actually. So the news cycle, when there's a massive security cybersecurity incident, usually the information gets out. The pundits and the headlines are very clickbaity and very energetic. And I don't know if it's that the nature of this hack is just unsexy seeming, but I don't know about you, but the headlines just seem very vanilla, very flat. So anyways, so there's a major security vulnerability going around that affects the Apache web server software. And if you go anywhere on the website, there is a 64% chance that you are accessing that content from an Apache server. So the one piece of software runs 64% of the web, and that's what makes it so critical. I mean, it's much like Microsoft Windows. Windows is on I don't know what the percentage is these days, 80% of computers. So when there's a 0-day exploit on Windows, it's just as important because of just how many computers run the software. So I don't want to get too technical about the vulnerability itself, but I guess what our viewers might be interested in is if they are exposed. So I will tell you that your Windows computer, probably not an attack vector unless you're hosting a website with the Apache software on your computer. So your home computers are probably safe. Your laptop is probably safe for right now. And we're in the context of this particular hack. What's not safe is, like I said, any system, service, or product you use a web browser for. So a web browser, Internet Explorer, Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, Firefox, Safari, any service you're logging into with a web browser, there's a 64% chance that they might use Apache to host that website, and that's where the vulnerability lies. So, I don't know about you, what your tool set is for your business these days, but many of our tools are run on the web. We advise our clients to use web-based software as much as possible. The advantages of using web-driven software are your infrastructure costs go way down. We have so few clients now that keep servers in a closet in their office these days to host their own databases local in their office. The software as a service model has just taken over so much that all of these softwares are in the web now. So yeah, there's a massive exposure there for everybody kind of across the board. The only thing I'd say about the fear and about, are we hacked or whatever, the internet is a community. I'm going to give a metaphor here, see if you can follow this. When computers first came out, imagine just houses strewn all over rural America, or rural countryside, if you will. And, yeah, a few communities would spring up and they would congregate or whatever. But in large part, the internet is the roads that connect all of our houses and businesses together. That's the analogy there. So learning about a security vulnerability like this is like learning that your quick set doorknob on your front door has been discovered. That, you ever heard of a bump lock? You ever heard of, or a bump? Yeah. You ever heard of that, where you put like a tennis ball or something or something on a doorknob, and they bump it and it just pops the door open or whatever. So anyways, long story short, it's like being afraid that your front door is vulnerable to being kicked in or something. I don't know. It's like if you exist, you're exposed. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. These vulnerabilities that exist have always been there. They just are being publicized because they're either being actively exploited or not. There are billions of more security vulnerabilities in all of the software that we use on our computers that just haven't been discovered yet, or the hackers haven't been sloppy enough to been detected. And that's really that goes on all the time. Governments are always exploiting software, and hackers are always exploiting software to their own benefit and not being discovered. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that yes, there's a hole. Yes, it's been picked up by the news that it's being exploited. Yes, it's far reaching across many of the internet connected computers, but the patch is already out. System admins are doing what we always do, which is patching the systems. And, the scary thing is that, data is being attacked and harvested now to try to basically shake people down for ransom. That's not going away. So, I don't know. Am I making any sense to you? What do you think?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, and it is an interesting way to look at it, that there's really two different avenues that the viruses can go. So if you continue with like the house breaking in analogy, there's those who want to break in, steal something, and get out and not be detected. And then there's those who want to break in and get into a hostage situation, to be pretty dark with it, but be in a hostage situation makes sort of demands on it. So you're more likely to find, obviously, the ones who want to make demands because they want to make it public that they got in and they have. But then there's others who just want to, grab your TV and take it to the pawn shop and be done with it. So there's probably all sorts of attacks that go in and get data and passwords, and then they maybe do something with it, or they find out they can't do something with it, but they're in and out and they're not detected, and we never even know it.
Right. I mean, it's you said virus. Actually, this is, these aren't even, well, they might be propagated through the use of viruses, but these are actually targeted attacks. Versus a virus back in the day used to be a brainless piece of software that would just mess with you, so to speak, either crash your computer or pop up some screen or otherwise irritate and annoy you. But these are actually targeted attacks, and where they're monetizing the theft of your data. So it's it's just what happens in these scenarios. My thoughts aren't really coherent, I think, but I guess what I'm trying to say is whenever this happens, I get a deluge of emails from scared people, clients and things. Oh my God, are we at risk? Are we at risk? And I try to tell people that the risk is ever present. It never goes away. And the holes in our software and our systems were there before they were publicized. And they're there after this one goes away. After we patch these systems and we move on with our lives, it's just that we're just leapfrogging from one to the next, So the software is just always, it's just the analogy is like homes on a street, it's just, you're as secure and this is kind of dark, but you're as secure as until the next attempted break-in from the would-be bad actor. And that's really it. And I have some hardline clients who insist on taking fairly aggressive measures to try to be protected and secure. But the only way to really try to get that sense of security is really to move out into a log cabin off the grid, and that's just so impractical. So, we're an internet connected community, and we're all connected to the same road. And if somebody chooses if your number comes up and all of a sudden somebody's banging on your door or trying to slide in through your unlocked window or locked window, it's the sad reality of life and the universe that if you exist, you're just exposed to harm. So what do we do to mitigate? Right now, the best practices are using security tools and hardware and features like firewalls, and it's a cat and mouse game. So always maintain the most patched system you can, so that once the vulnerability is discovered, you download the patch and install it. It plugs that security hole. But can you preempt that hole from existing? No. And surprisingly, over the last 20 years of my career, nothing has materialized from software manufacturers to change that paradigm, that they make a piece of internet connected software and prevent it from being exploited. I don't know if that's ever going to change. Maybe I don't know if you've ever heard of quantum computing. Maybe quantum computing will change. Maybe some kid in his mom's basement will come up with a new algorithm or a new paradigm around software and how software works that just turns everything on its head. I've seen things change pretty drastically, but right now I haven't seen a change. So I don't think it's worthy of a new emotion from people. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. We're not changing anything. Our data is out there. It's exposed. We're, just stick with the protocol until something improved comes. And to a lot of actual businesses out there, I'd say be careful about getting sold a bill of goods from, an IT vendor or something that promises to keep you totally secure, because that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, same thing in every business. Anytime there's an issue like this, there'll be some opportunist or somebody who comes out and says, well, that wouldn't have happened on our system, or we would have been able to prevent that, and all that sort of stuff. Do you think a lot of talk about blockchain improving efficiencies and everything like that, could it include improve security features and that sort of stuff?
Geez, you had to go blockchain on this one, huh?
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about the kid in the basement, right? He's probably going down that path.
Well, blockchain is a disruptive technology that is kind of like what I was saying. It could be something like that. Blockchain technology is, I think, I don't even think that everybody has realized all the things that it could be used for. So yeah, I mean, those kinds of technologies that all of a sudden weren't there one day and then they're the next, and you start peeling back the layers of utility from something like a blockchain technology. It could be, yeah, I mean, it could be, but again, internet connected software is just, it's like, if a thing exists, it's subject to being, if you can build it, you can break it down. It's just, that's just the nature of it. It's like, try to build a house that's impenetrable. I don't know. You would have a steel vault wrapped in concrete, wrapped in steel, wrapped in concrete, and with no doors and windows. And then is it even a house at that point? Is it, so I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know, to fantasize even about the new paradigm that would keep internet connected computers totally secure.
Right. And then when somebody comes out with something they say is more secure, then they just put the target on their back. Or
Exactly.
Or the bigger they get, the bigger the target they become.
Oh God. I remember 10 years ago, you ever heard of what was that? What's LockSafe? It was a credit monitoring service.
Oh
called,
yeah.
do you remember what was that was called?
Yeah, it'll come to me. LifeLock.
So the CEO of LifeLock, the credit monitoring service, said that his credit was unhackable, and I think he even took out billboards with his social security number on it. And I think it was like that same weekend he was hacked.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think he drove around with like those mobile billboards.
Yeah, the mobile billboards on the truck.
Yeah.
But and then that weekend or shortly thereafter, it was found that he was hacked. So yeah, I wish I had better news for everybody. But yes, there's a big publicized hack going around. It's targeting web servers. It's already patched. The patch was found to be vulnerable. Then it got patched again. So I don't know where it is in this patch. But I can tell you the same, over the last week, Microsoft released, I think, 30 some odd critical security patches for Windows. Apple released iOS 15.2 for iPhones and iPads that had a whole battery of security patches. And all those security patches are plugging these same kinds of holes. Oh, we found a hole. We fixed it, we patched it, we plugged the hole, and we're moving on. But it's just this bizarre paradigm that it's like software is perpetual Swiss cheese, and that we can't see the holes until some hacker discovers it. So honestly, the big one I'm waiting for, the biggest advice we're telling all of our clients, for example, what multi-factor authentication is?
Yeah.
So multi-factor authentication is the single most important security measure we all can do to try to keep our internet accounts safe, even from social media to your bank. Multi-factor authentication, basically, it's the security code that you have on the app that cycles through on your phone. You type in your username and password on the web. It says, we just sent you a code, or enter the code. And it's the second way that you identify or validate who you are. That's the single most important thing that we can all do to keep our internet accounts safe right now. I'm waiting for the headline to hit: multi-factor authentication compromised. And in a lot of ways, and in some ways it already has been there, because if you use your cell phone as your second form of authentication, they're finding that it's quite easy, in fact, for a hacker to call your cell phone company and impersonate you and convince the human on the other line to give access to the hacker, give your account access to the hacker impersonating you. And they can then transfer your phone number to a mobile SIM or a phone that they're in control of, and then start doing password resets or what have you at whatever service they're trying to hack of yours. And so use a authenticator app wherever available.
Yeah, that's really
So
good advice, especially on the financial stuff or anything banking. And pretty much everybody's got it now. Um, all the big financial services companies, they'll have the two-factor where they have to email you or text you a code. But yeah, you said that about the phones. I mean, heard some stories about people hijacking phones and being the recipient of those texts and all that kind of stuff. So like you said before, it's never 100%.
no, all you can do is stay informed, engaged, and just, if you're going to use these, this is what I tell my clients. The computer and the internet is akin to a show. If you were a company in the business of digging holes, and you started your company and you used to dig your holes for your clients with your hands, and then all of a sudden one guy was like, oh man, I just bought a shovel, look how many holes we can dig with a shovel. That shovel is capital, and all a computer system is more capital, allows you to dig more holes in less time, increasing your profit and your margins and that sort of thing. So if you're going to run a business using computers, don't forget about the capital that you're gaining from these tools. And I hate to say that it's a known risk, but you're going to use these tools to leverage the capital that they bring. It comes with an inherent risk, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always the pros will always outweigh the cons if you're using your technology correctly. There's no question about that. I saw something too, not probably as severe, but I guess there was an issue with some of the Google phones not being able to dial 911 in an emergency. Have you seen that?
Oh,
So there,
I did see that headline, but I
and
didn't.
they said they were working on the error, but I guess it was related back to if you had installed Microsoft Teams on your phone and maybe hadn't logged in or something like that. It was just sort of an oddball thing. But sounds like they're getting that fixed. But that kind of stuff comes all the time. I mean, you get conflicting issues with software that gets uploaded to phones. And I think Google's probably a little bit more open to those type of things because their infrastructure, their architecture is a little more open to apps than Apple is. But still, you get those issues with certain apps that conflict with tasks the phone is trying to do. And hopefully they get that
Yeah.
one fixed because that's a big one.
So the underlying technology that you're kind of talking about is VoIP, voice over IP. Do you use a VoIP service for your business?
I do. Yep.
Yeah. So the cool thing with voice over IP is, it's basically phone service provided over the internet, kind of akin to YouTube streaming and Netflix. So back in the day, the cable company would have to run a cable from the pole to your house so that you can watch television shows. And then Netflix streaming came along, and now you just have an internet connection, and it's the TV content becomes an application, an internet connected application, right? Well, phone service has gone the same way. So no longer do you need a copper wire coming from a telephone pole into your building to physically talk on, to send your voice signal down a wire. The phone service is now provided as a application over the internet, and that's called VoIP, voice over IP. And the 911 service relies on you telling the voice software to assign a address to your VoIP service. So when you dial 911, the 911 service can kind of see where you're calling from. The cell service used to have some triangulation technology when you used to use analog cell, that they could approximate where you might be. which I don't know how effective that even was back in analog cell. Now we're getting real nerdy here, but analog cell phone service when it was kind of over the radio, so to speak. So the carriers have had some technology to kind of deal with the 911 service, but now you can run your phone service as an app on your smartphone. And what you're describing, I think, is Teams is actually a VoIP team. Microsoft Teams is a VoIP service provider. And it sounds like there probably was some wires crossing or some default setting that was not being read. I don't know if Teams reads your location and sends it to the 911 service or something. I bet that's what it kind of sounds like it was.
Yeah. Either way, it seems like obviously you're doing 911 probably in a panic situation, but that should be the first thing you do when you call 911 is to give them your location before anything else, because at least then they can start to send somebody or start to get people on the horn as soon as before you get into your issue. But yeah, hopefully they get that cleaned up.
Yeah.
Along the
what
same
else is
lines.
Going on?
Well, along the same lines, I mean, you touched on it. I thought this was kind of interesting. So if you happen to be watching the Lakers and the T-Wolves game Friday night into midnight, you got shut off before the game was over. A little big company dispute between Disney, which of course owns ESPN, and Google, which of course owns YouTube TV. So they had ended their agreement at midnight Eastern Friday night to carry all the ESPN and Disney related channels, which includes ABC, ESPN, and all the Disney content. So that wasn't available over the weekend. Obviously,
did they really cut the game off?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. Yeah. The contract ended at midnight, so they just took all the channels down. So, I mean, for most shows, obviously the show was probably over at the top of the hour, but this just happened to be, because it was a sporting event, that's what sort of got the press. But yeah, they were able to have a meeting of the minds over the weekend and get it back on.
So the background is you've got Google, who owns and operates Google TV, which is an internet streaming TV service, almost like a cable TV service, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're negotiating with is it Disney the parent? Is Disney now the parent company, or who is it? Apple?
Yeah, Disney owns ABC and ESPN.
Right. So you've got Disney and Google negotiating the terms of having Disney channels, including ABC, ESPN, on the YouTube TV streaming platform. And this is actually not unprecedented. This has happened quite a number of times with a number of companies. I think Dish was having it out with a couple of years ago. Dish was having it out with, I don't know who the content provider was, but what seems to happen is it always comes down to the 0 hour. Mm-hmm. What do you think of that?
Yeah, always. And that's
mutually assured destruction.
Yeah, you have these companies and you have these individuals who are going this cord cutting process, right? So instead of just having their cable TV and their cable box, they're going with a
streaming. By the way.
Yeah.
I have YouTube. I bring in fiber internet service, clean fiber internet service, and all of our phone and video content is provided by. We are a YouTube TV subscriber.
Yeah. So are we. So you have, and it's frustrating for customers. I mean, if you're somebody who relies on that Disney content and maybe doesn't have Disney Plus, and you have your kids, your grandkids over for the weekend or the holidays, you're the unfortunate victim of this sort of boardroom talk that goes back and forth. And, of course, YouTube comes out and they're both going to point fingers at each other, but luckily they got it resolved quickly. It seems like it does happen a lot with the sporting networks, and all the cable providers will detach, whether it's MSG or whatever for a while as they work out the dollars and cents, because that's what keeps people on the cable systems. And that's what keeps people is the live event. So it's news, it's the sporting events, even to some extent, the reality shows where people want to watch it in that instance. When it's premiering Thursday night at 8:00, they're going to tune in to do that. So sports is truly one of the few things that people really do want to watch live now. So it's become really kind of a something that gets emphasized more maybe on the cable packages and online packages than it has before.
Yeah, sports are a total bargaining chip, and in fact, I'm quintessentially that scenario. I
Mhm.
am a YouTube TV. You know, we have Netflix, we've got Hulu, we've got Disney Plus. I think those are Amazon Prime, but it comes with Prime, right?
Mhm.
And I subscribed this year to the NFL app and YouTube TV just to get football. And yeah, I mean, it's the sports is the bargaining chip for sure. And one of the reasons why you've got Disney owning ABC and ESPN is because they build this media conglomerate, right? For all
Yeah.
these, yeah, all this bargaining. It's kind of interesting. I just read it. Actually, I saw a headline, I think yesterday, that said some big media executive was quoted as saying he predicts Apple will buy a major studio this in calendar year 2022 for the same reason. Just these media conglomerates just trying to buy all these assets that they can leverage on their own network and on other networks like YouTube TV.
Yeah, it's all about content and it's all about exclusive content, and that's why they all want the TV rights. So Amazon Prime is getting in the TV game with Thursday Night Football, and Apple probably will at some point. They want that football, they want that NFL package so that they can get people to buy that service, and all these things. It's, like software as a service, all these things, these monthly little, that's what adds up over time. And that's these reoccurring revenue that all these big organizations want. They want that. They can get $8 or $10 a month from half the country. They're doing pretty well.
So I've never been in my adult life a cable TV subscriber.
Yeah.
So the internet and streaming was just kind of coming around as I entered adulthood. And I'm pretty sure, and it was like a feather in my cap, that I've never, I proudly say I've never subscribed to cable TV, but I'm pretty sure the aggregate cost I'm paying every month in streaming services is probably more than what a cable TV plan might pay or cost. But something still about the flexibility of just having what you want and then being able to add drop. Remember the whole bundle thing they used to do in the 90s? I mean, what a nightmare, right? It's just such a toxic relationship between a vendor and customer. And talk about toxic relationship. I don't know if you watch football or not, but it's football is one of the sports that I like to watch on TV. And the NFL with all of their deals with all of the various networks and whatnot, and then they have these blackout things where if you're not in the region of the team or whatever, you can't see it to try to drive you to go to the stadium, or I don't know what their agendas are, but I could not imagine having a product and making it so difficult for your customer to acquire your product. I just
Yeah.
every year I just am fascinating that I just couldn't imagine making your product so difficult
Yeah.
to acquire.
Well, they're in the driver's seat though. They know they've got those 16 or now 17, which I can't stand, by the way, but they know they've got those 17 products. And if you're, whatever fan you are, you want to see those 17. So you're gonna get Prime just for that one game. You're gonna get all the outlets that you need to watch those, 16 or 17 games. And they know right now that people want to watch that. So tide may turn eventually and they may be diminished, but they're the one sport that's held on. All the other ratings are down a little bit, but NFL seems to hold on.
Yep. What else we got in the news? Anything else that these people
Oh,
might
I don't
want to?
know. Let's see what else is on the flipboard here.
I did pin two. So the Log4J vulnerability was obviously the main headline, but I did pin another article. Microsoft patches dangerous 0-day flaw. That was from Tom's guide, but basically just another hole in Microsoft. So and then again, another one, I think on, I don't know what day that was, 5 days ago, Apple just releases it. So I mentioned that in our talk about Log4j. So, it's business as usual. There's vulnerabilities out there, but I also posted two other things about some ransomware. So an Oregon medical group notifies 750,000 patients that their information was harvested. And according to the article, I guess they didn't even know until the FBI told them, hey, medical group in Oregon, we're the FBI, we monitor the dark web and we found a few 100,000 records of your patients. You might want to let them know. And imagine that. Imagine getting a call from the FBI saying your client's data we saw on the black web, or the dark web, they call it. So actually, I was surprised a private medical practice having that many patients. That's amazing. 700.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. Well, you know how it is around here. I mean, you get certain groups that just gobble up practice after practice after practice. And, you know, when you figure, I guess, I don't know if it's household accounts or family accounts or whatever, you know, if they figure 3 or 4 per family, it adds up after a while.
True.
You know, and you probably have some deceased records in there as well. I don't know how that all factors in, but yeah, it's that's got to be an uncomfortable call. But I guess you got to give some credit to the FBI for monitoring that to some extent. I mean, most people have heard the term dark web, but they're not really sure what it is. So, but that's where all this stuff gets exchanged. That's where these people get these. Once the hackers get this information, they either need to do something with it themselves, or they need to monetize it, and they need to sell it to somebody who can do something with it.
Yeah, let me just tell the listeners that if you don't know, the dark web is a seedy section of the internet where your data and your credit card information and explicit photos that have been gobbled off of computers and phones. It's basically where all the data of value gets exchanged among hackers. And for another note on that, for any naysayers of cryptocurrency who think that cryptocurrency like Bitcoin is a flash in the pan that's going to go away, the dark web is one of the main reasons why cryptocurrencies have gained traction, and it's probably one of the main reasons why they'll never go away, because one of the benefits of cryptocurrency is the exchange of money anonymously. So as long as the dark web's going to be around, I suspect cryptocurrencies are going to be alive and well too. So in fact, you hear it in almost every news article that the ransomware hackers always want Bitcoin because they can receive that anonymously. No longer are you trying to do a cash exchange on a street corner, a dumpster, or garbage can. It's just Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you know, the dark web stuff, that's another reason not to use your same password in multiple locations, right? Because if somebody gets your password to Facebook, they're going to try it at 40 different other websites and see where else you're using it.
Don't get me started, Brian.
Yeah, I know, but that's how that stuff happens. So
yeah, so if you use the same password on one or more, and so I always use this the about 5 or 6 years ago, Target and Home Depot, their e-commerce websites were hacked, and I think collectively a few 100 million records of email addresses and passwords were harvested on this hack. Well, it turns out that long ago, I mean, people are still doing it, unfortunately, but the amount of people who use the same email address and password across all of their services is just laughable. And what's scary is, and I mean to steal the conch from you, but I'll make this point that once your password is harvested, it's not an intern at the Hackers Inc. company that's manually taking your username and password and trying it on Twitter, on Facebook, on Chase Bank. They just take a spreadsheet and they just feed it through a program where they automate they test these credentials against thousands of websites in their program, and then all they do is all positive entries just get flagged, and then they can call that database, and now they sell an active database of working username and passwords on the dark web.
And all those quote security questions, you're basically giving them more information. You know, what's your first car, your high school mascot? It's like,
Oh yeah.
please don't actually use your high school mascot, because
Right.
as these hackers start to build these things, they can cross-reference the hack they did 6 months ago with the new one, and they can start to build out that profile. If they know what your high school mascot was from this hack 6 months ago, and they know what the first car you drove from the hack they just did yesterday, they're storing all this and they're building this profile on you. So they can start to test this stuff and push it through. But yeah,
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
it is crazy stuff. I was thinking, you know, we're getting up here to the end of the year. We'll have one more show. So not that we're going to make any bold predictions, but we could talk about some trends that we might see next year.
Oh, I like that topic. Nice.
Yeah, something that and I'll kick us off because because I'm just kind of springing this on you. But I think we're going to start to see next year. I think you're going to start to see a little bit more push to as the worlds of finance and technology collide kind of with this topic. But I think you're going to start to see more push to break up some of these bigger organizations, whether it's splitting up, Amazon shopping from AWS, their web services, or, Microsoft, their hardware from their software, or, even Google from YouTube, or Facebook from Instagram. I'm just throwing out some examples here. I think you'll start to see more push to sort of break these up and limit the power that some of these large organizations have. And I think Europe, actually, the EU has pushed a little bit harder on this, so they may take the lead here. But I think you're going to see more pressure from individuals that will filter up to the politicians. So I think that's going to be a story into 2022 and probably beyond from there. It's funny, all these companies usually fight that kind of stuff, but it usually ends up to their benefit. They actually end up with, multiple companies that actually are a larger sum than their original one, and the founders will have, shares in all these different companies. But I think that'll be a trend you'll start to see a little bit more. And once the first domino starts to fall, there'll be more pressure to break up some other ones. So I'm curious to see how that goes.
That's interesting. So there's a political bend on this topic, and I'll try really hard not to get over political. But yes, the drumbeat for breaking up big tech is being beaten by the left. And the sad reality of the DOJ, the Department of Justice, I think, is already started taking up that cause. I forgot what they just rejected a merger from a merger request of two major companies, and it escapes me right now. I don't know if it was T-Mobile and Sprint just merged, and that was allowed last year. I don't know if they had another one, but anyways, yeah. So I think you're right. The call for breaking up big tech and big companies is coming, but unfortunately for the politician, it's usually ineffectual, because when you break up a big company into smaller companies, it's just a matter of time before the consolidation starts to occur again. In the mid 20th century, they broke up what was affectionately called Ma Bell, all the telephone. There used to be a bunch of small telephone companies all over the country, and then through consolidation, the smaller ones kept being bought up, and they became this kind of mega conglomerate called Ma Bell, and then they got broken up again. But they've already started to reconsolidate again. So look at, God, the history escapes me now, but Verizon was previously, I forgot who, TCI maybe, and AT&T has always been AT&T, and Snet maybe, or something. So sure, you break up these companies, they're going to just recoagulate, if you will. So unfortunately, breaking up companies is usually just limited to political maneuvering. The companies themselves, actually, I tend to try to, I'm a free market person, let the market just, work its way, work it. The market will, in many cases, manage itself. Like, I don't even want to get into the whole Netscape Internet Explorer history and why, and then Firefox came around and showed Microsoft that, their dominant position on Windows couldn't control the internet. It's like, if you make a better product, it can succeed. So, breaking up companies is just kind of more political posturing, if you ask me. And then the companies themselves actually will break themselves up when it's fiscally and strategically prudent. So for example, one of the products we like and recommend to our clients is a password manager. We recommend everybody use a password manager, and then we can talk about that one day and the pros and cons of a password manager. But one of the password managers that we like and promote is called LastPass. And LastPass was bought by a company called LogMeIn, and LogMeIn is this company that keeps gobbling up little IT companies and little software packages. But they just announced last week or two that they're actually spinning off LastPass into its own company. So a lot of words to say that, I don't think you're wrong that they're going to continue to break up big tech. Unfortunately, I think it's just political maneuvering, and the benefits or perceived benefits to consumers, I think, is just going to be unmeasurable and kind of pointless, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to if you feel like they have an unfair advantage that limits competition and into that space. And so much of these things, especially with technology, it's so cyclical, and something that might have a dominant position now. I mean, even something like Facebook, right? All the kids joke that it's just something that their parents use at this point. And how long ago was it like the latest, hottest tech, right? So
there's no reason why anybody couldn't make a Facebook competitor in their home.
Yeah.
And just put Facebook out of business.
Well, Google tried. They failed. They didn't do a very good job of it.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, that's why Facebook brought Instagram, because that Instagram had the younger eyeballs. They had the next generation, so they would, and
Interesting
I don't know.
Prediction though.
Yeah. I mean, it's something, whether it happens or not, I don't know if it would probably take a lot to get it actually done in 2022, but I think it's going to be a big topic, because it's typically, like you said, a left-leaning situation, but you got people on the right that hate Facebook, obviously, because they think that they're promoting things on the left. So that might be an area where
impeding free speech.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could get people on the left and right that both dislike Facebook for different reasons, but agree on the idea of somehow breaking them up, or even just forcing them to spin off Instagram or something like that. Who knows? But
yeah, you're probably not wrong.
But yeah, especially as they move towards the, more towards the hard, if they get more involved with hardware type of things, splitting up something between software and hardware is kind of the easy or lazy way to do it, I guess. But you have definite lines there. I mean, AWS and the shopping side of it, I think, is a big deal, because obviously they say that they're not using the information that's stored on AWS to drive a competitive advantage, but it's too tempting when it's down the hall, right? I mean, who knows?
Right. And who's monitoring them, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you're Walmart, do you really want to store all your data on AWS? Probably not,
right.
But when you only have 2 or 3 solutions in that space. So who knows? But
it's not a monopoly position yet. It's a powered position, but
right.
And that's where I kind of say, like, well, I don't want to get overly political, but I tend to like to see what the market will shake out, and anybody who's crying unfair market conditions usually is the loser because they usually don't have a better product. And one of the spaces I watch, one of my hobby spaces that I love right now is electric vehicles. I'm just kind of obsessed with all things electric vehicles. I love the news cycle every day that they're talking about new electric vehicles. I cannot wait for the electrification of transportation. And you've got this whole thing now where GM, General Motors, is all all buddy with the Biden administration, and because GM is a union shop, it's a union driven company. And you've got Joe Biden, who is praising Mary Barra, the CEO of GM, for according to him, single-handedly contributing to the electrification of the auto industry, which is completely laughable because it was Tesla.
Right.
And I'm gonna get shirts made up or bumper stickers that says "You did it, Mary." If you watch the video, Joe Biden, he's quoted, "You did it, Mary. You really did it." And everybody who knows just is like, it's just disgusting, the political pandering, and I don't know if you'd call it corruption, but anyways, so my prediction is probably not really a difficult one. I predict, there's a huge wave of new electric car models that are planning to hit the market. So I think I predict that new models of electric vehicles are going to come. Hopefully Tesla launches their pickup truck. The Rivian electric pickup truck is just starting to go to production. The Hummer EV pickup truck from GM just got officially released to the public. They just sold their first units. So I'm hoping 2022 is going to be a big year for making a lot of electric cars available to more of the public and a lot of more options. I mean, I'm an EV lover, but I ironically drive a 12-year-old Nissan Pathfinder with 206,000 miles on it, and it's got a V8. But it's the only reason why I don't have a Tesla is because of the model. They don't have a product that appeals to me. I like kind of that full-framed SUV kind form factor. So so that's my prediction: more EVs for more people and less, it's my poor wife has to hear me talk about it every single day. We just, we had a cold snap this morning. I don't know if you've gone out yet or not, but we're driving through the elementary school parking lot, just like white puffs of smoke on everybody's car, at the drop off lines. And I'm just like, ugh, feels so steampunk. You know what steampunk is?
No, what are you talking about?
Steampunk is this artistic style where it's an artistic style that you'd see in like cartoons or magazines or whatever. I don't know. I'm not into it, but I've seen it. I know what it is. And it's basically like they depict like everything it has like a little engine on it, and it's like everything is just smoggy, like a toothbrush with a little engine on it that's like steaming when you're like brushing, or like a blender with a little 2-stroke engine on it, you know what I mean? And it just, I look around at all these gas guzzling and smoking cars, and I'm like, ugh, it just feels so. I think one day we're gonna look back and be like, oh man, like smoking cigarettes,
right? I was gonna say that. Yeah,
we're gonna look back and be like, can you believe we did that? Like, just, and I'm so over it. I'm just ready for just, even like even today I had it's 7 degrees out, and I had to pull the car out of the garage, close the garage door so that it could warm up without asphyxiating us.
Right.
You never want to run a car in your garage.
Right.
But with an electric car, you can just take up your app and just say preheat the car to 75 degrees or 72 degrees.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's my prediction.
Yeah, you're right about the smoking thing. I was joking with my wife, like if we're at the theater or something that has an intermission and you go out and there's like those 5 or 6 people like in the corners. It's like, geez, what year is this? It's like you walked out the door and like went into a time machine. But yeah, we hope those people get the help that they need to get off it, right? We don't want to pick on them, but
exactly.
Thoughts and prayers, right?
Yeah. But, so this was I think we're doing good on our second show. What do you say?
Yeah, I think that's good. That's good.
I think we'll be up for a third one. It feels like it's turning into a tech podcast. What do you think about that?
Well, we talked about that last show. I mean, there is a lot of crossover. I don't know. Maybe that's your tech side of it. If somebody else listened to it, they would pull a lot of I don't know, tech or finance or the future of, LastPass being spun off and all that kind of stuff. That's business news to me. So
Cool.
So
So you're
yeah, I
still
think it
enjoying it?
crosses over well. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'll be here next week.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess I was the host today, so I'll wrap it. You guys are watching and listening to Finance and Technology Insights with Brian and Eric. I'm your host, Eric Buhrendorf, with Brian Williams. If you like this, like and subscribe, comment. Feel free to engage with us. And if you want to talk about anything or have any comments, let us know what you think. And we'll be looking forward to chatting with you guys next Monday. See what happens in the news this week, right, Bri?
Sounds good. We'll see you next week.
All right, see ya.